you create this new persona.
Right.
That's what you do. It's what a lot of men do. They create a persona to cope with the world. So when I'm out in the world, I'm this big bad alpha, or I'm this big bad whatever you are, this person you present.
Right.
But when those certain people start putting little chinks in your armor, start questioning things or your ideology, then what happens? There's that cognitive dissonance we talk about. Your worldview gets shattered. You start questioning things. Well, you're right. This person I did look up to in my said group is kind of questionable. It does seem like they only care about money. It doesn't seem like they call and check on me.
Andrew Tate.
They don't seem to. Yeah, they don't seem to. They just sell me programs. They just sell me little things. They don't seem to really care. They just seems like they tell me what I want to hear.
Right.
So you can't get on women about men telling them what they want to hear, and that men are, that the women
thing.
when you're doing the same thing, they're doing the same thing to you that they're doing to the women, dude. Do you see that?
And that's the whole thing about the whole red pill space. It's like
that's what they're doing.
Young men are the most marketed to.
They're impressionable. They're malleable. I can get you to believe this because it sounds good because I got the Bugatti, I got the look, I got the women. Yeah. Okay, dude, you have to ask questions. How did this person get this? Is this even real?
Right.
Is it even real?
They wanna mold us into the perfect clones, but I'd rather be a misfit, stand alone. Social sabotage, breaking these chains, I won't be a victim.
All right, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Malcolm Eugene.
Will Robertson here.
Today we're going to talk about a clip from Dr. K.
Okay.
The education sphere when it comes to like masculinity and content for males has kind of evolved. The red pill space has died off. When one boss is taken down, a new one arises. Today we have Dr. K, and he's going to be talking about men and Suicune.
Oh, yeah, that's a big problem.
So the number one thing that correlates with male suicide is not depression. And this is super scary. There's one study I saw recently that suggests that 50% of men who kill themselves have no history or evidence of mental illness. I believe the statistic in my clinical practice because I know what depression looks like. I know what bipolar disorder looks like. And half the men that I've worked with, at least, are not actually mentally ill. See, mental illness means a pathology of the mind, which means that the mind is malfunctioning. Most of the suicidal men that I work with, their mind isn't malfunctioning. They genuinely have a life that is no longer worth living. They're looking at things and objectively realizing that there's no way out of the situation. So they turn to suicide. So I know it's kind of like a very controversial statement, but I think that's what my clinical practice has shown, and there's some research to even back that up. So if we sort of look at what's going on with men, they have nowhere to turn to, and the number one thing that correlates with it is not mental illness, but is a sense of thwarted belongingness. But basically what happens...
I agree.
So that's a very interesting take on that.
I agree with that.
We use mental illness as a crutch for a lot of things.
Everybody's like, go get therapy. Okay, who's to say I need that therapy is going to work? That there's that kind of issue. That's not. It's society is deemed that men are no longer needed. You're strong, independent. You're a monster. You do wrong constantly. It's always your fault. You need to take accountability. You're letting these other men be bad, so it's your fault that these other men are bad. And even though these small minority of men are bad, you're lumped in with that. But then in the inverse, you can't say, okay, well, does the same thing apply to women? Well, no. They're angels. They're perfect. So when you get a thing where men aren't being appreciated, that men are told that they're worthless.
Right.
That unless they make a certain amount of money, unless they have certain jobs, unless they think or agree with everything the other people say, you're a problem. And there's a reason why we have the old expressions. If you push the young men away from the village, they will return and burn down the village. That's where we're at. A bunch of emotional men who have no direction, no sense of identity, no sense of self-worth, no sense of any type of direction they should go. Right. And then when they get into red pill spaces, or they get into spaces where, it's blue pilled or this ideology that believe and trust all women, it gets really funky on both sides of it, man. Real funky.
Well, and when he mentioned something about thwarted belongingness, if a man is having an issue, it's always downplayed. So even and it can be downplayed even within their own support groups. So
of course, absolutely.
You go to somebody to reach out to them, confide in, and they're like, you need to man up, or you need to stop being a pussy, or you need to stop doing that. It's
hyper masculinity.
That's tough because it's downplaying how they're feeling, because men, we are really bad at having feelings, or at least being in touch with our feelings. That's something that I have gotten better at. But as society, we were supposed to be strong and stoic and, unmoved by a lot of things, and that's fine. But having a support group to be vulnerable with is highly important. But if that group is not there for you, then that's when this man who doesn't have a mental illness feels like they don't belong to anywhere, and now they feel like they just need to delete existence.
And having a family is not enough for some men, or even having that family. The stress of having that family, the dependence upon finances, dependence on being a leader or whatever. Maybe they don't have a good support group, somebody else that they can spill and talk to, because you can't talk to your wife, girlfriend, or whatever about certain things. Just like you can't just talk to your children about everything. So when you don't have a good group of men that you can rely on, that's going to uplift you, that are going to want the very best of you, and expect and hold you accountable, and hold you to, expect you to try to do better and be better, and to be able to let go of some of that. Hey man, I'm frustrated with this, whether it's work, family thing. When you don't have that, what do you do?
Well, there's a thing I've heard about having like a healthy third place. So like your first place is going to be your home. Your second place may be, say, work.
Yeah.
And then your third place, for some people, may be the bar, it may be Starbucks or a Bible study or church or whatever, But having a healthy third place is probably a step in the right direction. A lot of men don't have that, at least within the confines of having a family, because a lot of men find themselves, their third place as being somewhere like a bar or a strip club, and a lot of people find themselves
very dark
talking
thing.
to
OS, all kinds
talking to like confining it to like bartenders and like OnlyFans models or strippers, telling them all these deep dark secrets about their life just because they're there to listen.
And that's all it is they need somebody that they won't know you should trust them, but that they could just confide in and just open up to. And it's like society tells you need to be less masculine, be more emotional.
Right.
But then you get men who get on podcasts or get on things and do that, and then what happens? They're ridiculed by both sides for being too feminine or being too emotional. Oh, well, you're being too emotional. So it's like, you just say what you're going to say. You like men, just like when men give you the attention that you want, the validation. If it's men that are attractive to you, you're willing to accept it. But if it's unattractive men who don't have money or anything or offer you anything, then they're creeps and they give you the icks. Yeah. Like, just admit that's what it's not a consistent thing.
If you're talking about that in particular, that's different. That's because that's a right to choose thing, and it's a preference thing. So
of course, those come into play. But at the same time, you can't say that someone's not emotional enough, and then when they do these outbursts of anger or these outbursts of them breaking down crying, or they go to you and other guys go to you and say, "Hey man, I'm struggling," and your first thought is to bully him or whatever.
Right.
It works to a certain extent, because I remember back in the day. Okay, back in the day, we used to play Call of Duty.
Oh yeah.
Back in the golden age of gaming.
Xbox Live.
On Xbox Live. 2006 to about 2012, 13-ish, peak gaming times. Those Call of Duty lobbies were legendary. Most racist.
Shout out to Sly Boots.
The most racist.
Shout out to General.
Yeah, Snake. All
Shout
of them.
out to Snake.
Cute Murder. All our
Miss Cute Murder.
Yeah.
Shout
all these people. Boy, Boy said something.
No. None of these guys are racist. This was the squad back in the day.
It was, but you had a good group of people. So the General, all these people, you never met them, but just hearing their voice spinning, like looking forward to getting off work, looking forward to weekends, and spending upwards of 2 to
3 hours,
2 to 18 hours of your life a week playing games with people that you've never met, but you have this one thing that ties you together. In spite of whatever's happening at home, in spite of what the world tells you, in spite of work, you have this outlet.
And honestly, that's probably a third place, even though that is at home. That can be a third place. It's within the.
But back then was different than it is now. Like people said racist things. You come in there, or they're blaring obscene music, and it's loud and crappy. You talk crap on the other team.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Green dots.
Yeah, but now it's seen as bullying. Now it's seen as being racist. Like, yeah, was it a little racist back then? Absolutely. But most of the time, I didn't take it serious. These people are just ignorant and being stupid. They're just trying to get a rise out of you.
I didn't fuck all their moms.
Yeah, exactly.
Only some of them.
So we had that back then. And they've intentionally, the last 10 to 15 years, have taken away and created things that have taken away from men to do that and be in comfortable spaces like that. So then we come up with this YouTube world, okay? So YouTube comes around, and we've got this men-centric thing, the red pill community, the blue pill community, Sigma, Alpha. We've got all
the alphabets,
We got all these different fields.
I call that the LGBT for heterosexual men.
There we go. See what I'm saying? So you got all these different indoctrinations or different types of occult beliefs or whatever. So you go and you hang out in this group and you do this and that. But the problem is, it still leaves you empty.
Right.
It still doesn't leave you fulfilled. It still leaves issues that haven't been addressed. You still have inadequacies that you haven't taken a look at, and you create this new persona.
Right.
That's what you do. It's what a lot of men do. They create a persona to cope with the world. So when I'm out in the world, I'm this big bad alpha, or I'm this big bad whatever you are, this person you present.
Right.
But when those certain people start putting little chinks in your armor, start questioning things or your ideology, then what happens? There's that cognitive dissonance we talk about. Your worldview gets shattered. You start questioning things. Well, you're right. This person I did look up to in my said group is kind of questionable. It does seem like they only care about money. It doesn't seem like they call and check on me.
Andrew Tate.
They don't seem to. Yeah, they don't seem to. They just sell me programs. They just sell me little things. They don't seem to really care. They just seems like they tell me what I want to hear.
Right.
So you can't get on women about men telling them what they want to hear, and that men are, that the women
thing.
when you're doing the same thing, they're
Right.
doing the same thing to you that they're doing to the women, dude. Do you see that?
And that's the whole thing about the whole red pill space. It's like
what's what they're doing?
what young men are the most marketed to.
They're impressionable. They're malleable. I can get you to believe this because it sounds good because I got the Bugatti, I got the look, I got the women. Yeah. Okay, dude, you have to ask questions. How did this person get this? Is this even real?
Right.
Is it even real? They can fake the funk, just like these people do, these women do, and everyone does on social media. They can fake the funk. Yep, taking a flight out. Bro, there's sets out in California you can go on and pay $8,000 and shoot on a set. All you do is take enough pictures, different angles, and you can brag about taking all these flights all the time, and it's fake. You can take a toilet seat, put it up, and it looks like you're on a plane window. You're going.
I've seen that.
See what I'm saying? So it's
perception of reality.
That's what it is. I'm selling you on a dream, and hopefully you're buying into it. So you can buy my marketing schemes. You can buy into this idea that I'm trying to sell.
Right.
But I'm fake as a $4 bill.
But the thing about it is, it's like you have that, and it breaks everyone's world. So we end up in this place to where now the suicide rate of men, it's so high.
It's astronomical, man.
And it's just to a number of things. People try to say mental health or it's PTSD or something like that, but it could be none of those things.
Absolutely not.
And people don't understand that men, we need to be listened to as well. Yeah. Sometimes we just want people to listen. But instead, we have to be the ones that are always the ones who are to listen and to do that. Not saying that you shouldn't. We are pretty bad at listening, but we should definitely do that. But also, we need to confide in each other.
Of course, that's what men's support groups. That's what you should have, a good group of people. You don't have to have a large group. You should have one or two people you could lean on, at least kind of speak to as a man, especially that you can just say, "Hey, man, I got this idea. What do you think?" Or, "Hey, I'm struggling with this. Maybe give me a different perspective on this." Or, "Hey, have you gone through something similar to this?"
But you've heard of what was it, burdenism?
Sounds familiar.
So basically, you don't want to do that because you don't want to come off as being a burden to somebody.
Oh, but that's implanted in us. Yeah. You don't want to come off as like not reliant or consistent, or you want to be seen as weak or insufficient.
That was something that was like a red flag for me in some of my previous relationships. It's like, you know what? I'm always going to be a people pleaser. I'm always going to make sure everything is fine because I don't want to be a burden to what's already going on.
But at the same, probably not gonna like this. I had the same issue. So I was adopted. So I've always felt this need that I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
So your situation is different, obviously. So is it because you had the lack of something, of feeling like you maybe didn't have that figure in your life, that maybe that's what created this ideal that you have to feel like you have to go above and beyond because you feel like you could be left? Could be an abandonment?
Not necessarily. I think it's more of a common sense thing. It's like you understand things within the construct of the situation that it is. Well, so it's like, instead of adding to the mess, let me pull back my boundary and pull back my expectation and then make sure that everything else is fine.
But then the problem comes, it becomes all about them, and then you fake the funk, man, because then you're...
Oh, yeah, and that's the thing. It's
and then, especially if you're with the wrong person. You draw... Sometimes you would think you attract like people, but somebody that has ill intentions for you can say, okay, I see how he is.
Yeah.
Well, I know that he'll give everything to me, and I can do the least amount for him.
You lose yourself in the sauce, and what you learn is you kind of be able to stay true to your boundaries.
Absolutely.
You got to know what you like, what you want, and just how to put that out into the world in a healthy way. You can't be a people pleaser, if you will, all the time. I mean, it's okay to be that sometimes, but
compromises are acceptable. Yeah. Compromises are acceptable when you compromise your integrity, when you're compromising your morals, when you're compromising to a point to where you don't even know when this started happening or how you got here, or you start questioning your own self.
Right.
something went wrong.
It gets wild. Yeah, it's crazy. But it's interesting. I think Dr. K has a point when it comes to that. And it's kind of a relief seeing the man. I don't want to call him manosphere.
No,
but it's education for men.
Absolutely, man-centric men. Education for men, because we need more. Somebody who's not just trying to sell you a course or sell you on an idea, but speak real, rational viewpoints.
But he was getting dragged on Twitter for that take, though.
What?
Because people are like, oh, you're just making these points to get retweets and things. And I'm like, look here.
You can feel there was authenticity to it. He genuinely this is what he practices.
Yeah.
He genuinely cares about it and sees these men are struggling and coming to him.
Well, the whole
and if he really didn't give a crap about them, he could just do like everyone else does. I'll prescribe you some medication. Well, I don't know if he's a psychotherapist or a psychiatrist, because psychiatrists are the ones that can actually prescribe stuff. Right. So he could He could say, "Hey, you need to watch this," or "Hey, you could go take this." He's not doing that. It seems like he legitimately says there's a concern.
Well,
for people,
it's a separation between people like, oh, you feel sad. Well, you can get over that in a day, versus putting yourself in that person's shoes and trying to understand how they feel.
Empathy. It's been lost in society. That's another sign of the end times is people aren't empathetic anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. Everybody's fine if someone's been victimized or whatever. But when it comes to someone saying just reaching out for some empathy, not looking for click or anything, not looking for anything. Hey man, I'm hurting. I'm struggling. Maybe this isn't the best outlet doing it on social media, but I don't have anybody else personally that I can lean on, that I can trust.
Right.
Maybe you guys can help me. When someone comes at you like this gentleman, seems like that's what he's doing, legitimately saying, hey, there's a need. These men need somewhere to go.
Right.
Because I don't know what the statistic is, but I remember at one point it was about every 90 seconds a man's killing himself.
Which is wild.
That's terrifying, man.
So then during this entire podcast episode, how many people have died?
Exactly.
I don't feel like math.
But it's all according to plan. Nobody cares.
Right.
Men are in love with conditions. We all accept and understand that's how the society's been created. We all know that it's not to make you feel sad. You shouldn't find it empowering. You get to make yourself and become whoever you want to be. But knowing that's how the world works, women are always going to be taken care of. The kids are always be taken care of. Elderly's going to always be taken care of. Pets are always going to be taken care of. You understand that as a man. That shouldn't make you feel crippled or belittled or useless or worthless. It should say, hey, I'm going to do the best I can to build myself up.
Exactly.
Make myself as valuable to the community as possible, to other men and other people. And not just for validation or for political views or whatever, but because you genuinely want to be better. Yeah. Because the better you become, the more good you can do for other people, and it can start filling that hole that's in your life, And then from there, take a look at your ideology, take a look at maybe how you process things.
Yeah, and grow from there.
There you go.
But what do you guys think? Let us know down below.
Absolutely.
It was just an interesting take, and I found I found a bit more truth in it. So. Other than that, my name is Malcolm Eugene.
Will Robinson. Guys, like, subscribe, share. We're coming back into this strong. It's 2024.
Yep. Outlier Tire. Make sure you go cop some gear. Happy Mother Duckers. We out here. Yep.
They wanna mold us into the perfect clones, but I'd rather be a misfit, stand alone. Social